everyone. I'm Rochelle Chernowski. This is Shell Point Today for the weekend of December 20th, 21st, and 22nd. On today's show, we find out what Ebenezer Scrooge, George Bailey, Charlie Brown, and Clark Griswold can teach us about coping with the holiday season. But first, our Shell Point Brass Band is once again traveling court to court, bringing Christmas carols and cheer to all of Shell Point via golf cart. Friday night, the Woodlands and Eagles Preserve enjoy the caroling. They'll start in front of Lakewood on Friday night at 6 p.m., and then go on to Oakmont at 6:15, Rosemont at 6:30, and Parkwood at 6:45. Then they'll head over to Eagles Preserve starting near the fountain at 7:15 p.m. on Friday, then near the bridge at 7:30, and finally near the traffic circle at 7:45. Many thanks to our brass players for bringing the Christmas spirit to all of Shell Point. Of course, Christmas can be a stressful time as well, with all the shopping, decorating, wrapping, baking, traveling, and more. It can be easy to slip in some of your life quest goals, whether they are physical, spiritual, or social. One way to avoid this is by learning from the characters of our iconic Christmas stories. For example, how many of us can identify with this guy?
Merry Christmas, Uncle. I said, Merry Christmas, Uncle. Humbug.
Many of us can't find the joy of the season no matter how hard we look.
I just don't understand Christmas, I guess. I like getting presents and sending Christmas cards and decorating trees and all that, but I'm still not happy. I always end up feeling depressed.
Charlie Brown, you're the only person I know who can take a wonderful season like Christmas and turn it into a problem.
Maybe Lucy's right. Of all the Charlie Browns in the world, you're the Charlie Browniest.
And some of us need the guidance of our own guardian angels.
You see, George, you really had a wonderful life. Don't you see what a mistake it would be to throw it away?
Even the Clark Griswolds of the world can have moments of clarity.
That's all that matters tonight. Not bonuses or gifts or turkeys or trees. See, kids, it means something different to everybody. Now I know what it means to me.
We all love these classic Christmas movies, but they can also teach us something important about maintaining balance through the holiday season. Find out more on Saturday as the Life Quest group discussion explores these questions, using many classic movie clips and group discussion. All are welcome to this Life Quest group meeting Saturday morning at 10 a.m. in the Grand Cypress Room. Now, speaking of classic clips, all next week on Shell Point TV, we will be playing our best stories from 2013. We have stories of crazy vehicles like homemade scooters and a flying car. We have stories of family connections like 3 generations of PhDs or a 100-year-old weightlifter. We have stories of flora and fauna like a 6-foot-long orchid or a therapy dog that helps kids learn how to read. And we have fascinating war stories like the experiences of a B-17 tail gunner and a resident who took his movie camera to Vietnam. We're bringing you all these stories and more on next week's episodes of Shell Point Today. But first, we're replaying the best of this week, right after we bring you this week's happenings, menus, and church news.
It's the last weekend before the big day. Christmas is just a few days away, and we have a great list of activities that hopefully you can squeeze in between getting all those last-minute presents and doing your last-minute grocery shopping and cookie making. So let's start off with Friday at 8:15. Stamp Ministry volunteers are all welcome in the stamp room of the island. The marketplace will be here from 8:30 to 11:30 in Administration Courtyard. 9 o'clock is the time for men's match play, doubles tennis. And the Susie Q's heading downtown Fort Myers for lunch. Sign up is required, and they're going to be leaving the dock at 9:30. Canasta takes place at 10 a.m. in the game room at the Woodlands. And Inquiring Minds in the Manatee Room will be meeting at 10:15. The first thing on the docket for the afternoon is 12:30 Mixed Progressive Bridge in the game room. We head to the Tarpon Room at 1:15 for table tennis and the Osprey Room at 1:15 for quilters. The model train room will be open today from 1:30 to 3:30, and maybe you have some visitors in town. Great place to spend some time with your family. 1:30 is also time for Vespers. They'll be meeting in the community room of the Arbor. Euchre will be played in the Sable room at 2 o'clock, and Great Decisions group meets at 2:45 in the Manatee room. Another Vespers group will be meeting in the community room, this time at King's Crown at 2:45. It's always a good evening at Roy's, and we're taking a busload of residents out to Roy's for dinner. If you're signed up, we'll pick you up at 4:15 on the island, 4:25 Woodlands, and 4:35 Eagles Preserve. 6 o'clock is the time for Christmas carols performed by the Shell Point Jazz Band. Tonight they're heading down to the Woodlands and Eagles Preserve. 6 o'clock is the Lakewood, 6:15 Oakmont, 6:30 Rosemont, 6:45 Porkwood, and Eagles Preserve. They'll be over to you. 7:15 by Ibis and Pelican, 7:30 by Curlew and Heron, and 7:45 by Osprey and Egret. Thank you to the Shell Point Jazz Band for bringing some holiday cheer. And at 6:45, game night will wrap things up in the Resident Activity Center. Let's find out what's happening on Saturday.
At 8 o'clock, we're going to start bright and early at Adopt a Road, the Administration Courtyard on the island. Also at 8 o'clock is Round Robin Men's Doubles Tennis at the tennis courts. 9:30, we have the Women's Doubles, the tennis courts at the Woodlands. 9:45 is Duplicate Bridge in the Manatee Room on the island. 10 o'clock is Life Quest Group Discussion at the Grand Cypress Room. 10:15 is the Model Yacht Sailing Club at the Garden Apartment Pond. 1 o'clock is chess in the Library Lounge at the Resident Activity Center. And we have table tennis at the Tarpon Room at 1:15. Basic line dancing is at 3:15 at the Health Club. And we're going to end Saturday with the Duplicate Bridge at 6:30 in the Manatee Room. Now here's Mary to tell us about the Sunday activities.
Thank you, Leslie. We start off Sunday with Christian Life Studies. At 9 a.m., the group will be meeting in the game room at the Woodlands, and at 9:15, the Village Church. 10:15 is time for morning worship at the Village Church, and it will also be broadcast live on Shell Point TV, Channel 12. 1:30 is the time for Mixed Golf League. Well, that's our complete list of weekend activities. We look forward to seeing you right back here next week for all of the Christmas activities taking place this wonderful holiday week. I'm Mary Franklin with Leslie Brand. Have a great weekend.
Menus for your weekend. In the Crystal Room, the Crystal Platter on Friday is langostino lobster pasta with braised baby kale. The dinner special is the seafood buffet for $14.95, and the soup of the day is Manhattan clam chowder. In the Island Cafe for lunch on Friday, enjoy a French dip with fries for $7.25. The dinner special is Chef's Choice for $8.25. Dinner specials in the Palm Grill on Friday are lamb chops for $20.95 or Florida lobster for $21.95. On Saturday, the Crystal Room is closed. And in the Island Cafe for lunch on Saturday, enjoy a barbecue pork sandwich with chips for $7.25. The dinner special is chicken parmesan with penne pasta and steamed broccoli for $8.25. In the Palm Grill, dinner specials are prime rib for $19.95 or baked ham for $14.95. On Sunday, the Crystal Room features its Sunday brunch for $17.50. In the Island Cafe for lunch on Sunday, enjoy fresh fruit with cottage cheese, sliced tomato, and a hamburger patty for $7.25. The dinner special is Chef's Choice for $8.25. And the Palm Grill is closed on Sundays. All menus are available 24 hours a day at www.shellpoint.net.
As we enjoy the joy of the holiday season together, I want to welcome you to Village Church Connections, particularly as we prepare to talk about our weekend. And welcome Andy, who's joining me today as well. Andy, we are in the fourth Sunday of Advent this weekend.
Indeed we are.
And so we will be lighting that fourth Advent candle and celebrating that together. You have also embarked on a series where you're looking at the names of God. And so far you've looked at several names: Wonderful Counselor, Mighty God, Everlasting Father. And this week, tell us what you'll be talking about.
We look at the Prince of Peace, and these are the names actually of Messiah, as Isaiah prophesies it in the 9th chapter of Isaiah. And we've looked at a number of different dimensions of his work and ministry, that whose birth, of course, we celebrate at Christmas. And we've already examined some of those things which have been very rich. He's our wonderful counselor. He is the one who advises us. We don't advise him, and he does it in such a way as to demonstrate his deity. He's the mighty God, and as a result of him being mighty God, it means that he is the all-powerful one who comes to us and can accomplish for us what we can't do for ourselves. He's the everlasting Father, which speaks of his eternal dimension of his nature, and as well as his fatherly care for his people. And so now we get to the final name, Prince of Peace, in which we recognize that we only have peace because of the work of this Messiah.
Absolutely. And as I'm listening to you talk, it dawns on me that the God who is all of these things, the wonderful counselor, the mighty God, the everlasting Father, the Prince of Peace, set it all aside to come as a baby.
Yeah, that's right.
To reconcile us to himself. And what a wonderful message we celebrate at Christmas time.
Absolutely. It is indeed good news. That's why we call it good news. It's special.
And I also want to mention our worship services are always very rich during this time of year as we enjoy the music of the season and we sing together, we worship together. It's a very special time.
Yeah, it's one of those times in which we sing hymns that are familiar to a lot of people, hymns that we love because of the time of the season, but we only do it once a year. And so that's what makes this time really great.
It is. And then Sunday night is a special time for us. We've done this traditionally now for a number of years. We don't have our regular Sunday evening service like we normally do in the village church. What we do instead is we gather in smaller groups at our various facilities, assisted living in the pavilion, and we go caroling.
And that's fun. That's a lot of fun. Fantastic. I'm looking forward to it. This being the first time that I'm here at Shell Point for the season. I think that's really exciting.
It is. We just have a lot of fun together as we just join together our voices in song, and so many of us just enjoy singing. We're not professionals, but it gives us an opportunity to just walk the halls of some of these facilities and bring a little joy and Christmas cheer to those that are there. So we will be meeting at various times actually, and we certainly want to invite people to join us. 5 o'clock we will be at the Arbor in the Springs, and we'll begin there and carol through the halls. 5:15 the group will convene in the pavilion, and then at 6:15 at King's Crown. And this is a time when we just encourage folks to bring friends, bring family that are in town, come and sing with us. And there's certainly a warm welcome for anybody else at Shell Point that would like to just carol with us. We would love to have them.
Yeah, sure, that would be great. In fact, folks that don't ordinarily attend the village church, if they would love to go caroling with us, you can call the church office, I guess, and find out exactly when and put their names on the list so we would expect them, and that would be wonderful to have them join us.
Absolutely, and we do have a sign-up sheet. It just helps us plan what size groups we're going to have at the various locations. Those sign-up sheets are located in our foyer, or you can call the church office and just say, I'm going to be there and this is where and when.
Yeah. Great. Sounds wonderful.
So we invite you to join us this holiday season, Sunday morning for our special time of worship at 10:15, and then to carol Sunday evening at various times around our community. Have a wonderful day.
It's time for our Shell Point TV Week in Review, and we began this week with our Shell Point Life cover couple, Dave and Mary Fountain.
I was in the military for 21 years as a Navy chaplain. And part of that Navy chaplain time, we spent 3 years in Spain. Well, I do not speak Spanish, but Mary speaks Spanish and I do not. So it was Dave the driver and Mary the mouth. And that got us around Spain royally for 3 years, from 1980 to 1983. We were stationed at our naval base at Rota, which is the only naval base that the Navy has in Spain.
While we were there, I was able to work in the duck shop 1 day a week. That was, I don't know how it got that name, but Ramon, the proprietor, named it, and he collected junk and antiques and brought them in. And I would say, Ramon, why did you bring that trash? It's never going to sell, and he'd say, "You just wait, Maria. There's something for everybody. Somebody's going to buy this." Ramon would bring in boxes of tiles that they made of several of the paintings in the museum in Sevilla, the Prado. And these are two reproductions of that. They're on ceramic tile, and that's the Waterman of Seville, and then the fruit seller's children over there. The thing I love about Lladros is that they make their pieces beautiful from every angle. And so when you look at the flight, the birds, the feathers, the positioning of the porcelain, it's just amazing that there's a beautiful shot from every vista that you want to look at. That's the Nun at the Pianos. I don't believe this piece has ever been imported to the United States, so it is also quite different, something that you wouldn't see here, but because Spain is a Catholic country, it's a nice thing for the people over there to enjoy. This is a little girl with a pan of snails for the ducks to be feeding on, which I thought was neat. And then behind her is a little girl with a lamb. That caught my attention because my maiden name was Lamb. My first name is Mary, so she was very special for me. There was a series of these little girls sitting in the chairs, and this one I thought was so sweet, so lovely. They are such lovely pieces, these musical angels, and again, they are pieces that are just graceful from every angle that you turn them. Really beautifully constructed and made as you watch each piece that is so beautifully portrayed in this figurine. The embroidery lady, and she is a very popular piece, and she is a lovely, lovely piece to show the embroidery. The detail on her is magnificent, and again, she's sitting in the ladder back chair, and every angle is just so nice. Even the back with her braid and the ties on her apron coming down. These are two angels. When you look at this piece, the traditional insignia for Lladró is missing. That denotes that it's a second. On this piece over here, the other angel, that angel is a first, and you see that that insignia is intact, and so that tells you that that's a first, or the top quality of the Lladró. Another Lladró that is in the matte finish, and some people prefer that to the traditional, and so we bought her again with a bird because we wanted an example of that type of work that Lladró does. From literature, you know about Don Quixote and his partner Sancho Panza, and so there are two wooden figurines from that story. This piece right here, Ramon sold the old Singer sewing machine treadle bottoms, and then you could have a piece of wood or a piece of marble cut to go on the top to make a table for yourself. And when we moved into our apartment in Spain, the only thing there was a sink and a light bulb from the ceiling. We had to come up with all the other furniture. So while we were there, this was the microwave holder, and I went out to the marble shop and picked out a piece of marble. We have a scale that was from the duck shop, and it weighs kilos and half kilos, and one of the fans, of course, that they use in the flamenco dancing. So that is a nice memento of our time there. In Toledo, outside of Madrid, they do the gold inlay work. And this is a piece of Toledo work that I think is very beautiful. Just the detail is lovely. Also at that area, they make excellent scissors. And outside the cathedral there, they had several little stalls or shops where you could buy these. And these scissors are just excellent. Some of the best pottery is the Porticelli. And this blue platter and this pitcher were given to us by our chapel when we left. and they are just exquisite pieces. Above that is a Madonna and Child that Ramon found in the rostro outside of Madrid. Just a sweet piece, I think, out of brass. Millán, he's a very well-known painter. At that time we were in Spain. He was a very well-known painter. Some of the best depiction of fruit I've ever seen in a painting. The grapes are just translucent. The light that he uses make the fruit look real, and even as you get closer to the painting, you see the veins on the leaves and the light and the sort of mustiness on the grapes that just make his painting so special. This is a coat rack that came into Ramon's shop. We've been able to push it into almost every place that we've lived, and it certainly is very handy as we're living here in this apartment, as we put coats and bags we're taking out and everything on it. So that's been a nice piece to have that's very usable. While we were there, cathedrals in Seville were selling their music books. They didn't have the printed word then, and so the choir people sang from these music sheets, and they would display them on these elegant stands and then turn the pages as the people sang. And we had no idea what they said until we moved to Shell Point, and Ivan and Ellie Watts were able to translate them for us. Number one, these sheets were made in November, or corrected by the Master of Forms of Music in November 9th, 1600. And right here it says Gregorian chants around 1600, Seville, Spain. And the translation for this is, "He will make all things new through his blood. Alleluia. Things below will be as things above." And then if you turn it around, we had it double framed, and on the back it says, "He is the Lord, and his glory will be seen by you." And the translation on this music sheet, "Behold, the mighty prophet will come and point us to your righteousness," is the translation on that. And one of the reasons we like this music sheet is because it has a correction made by the Master of Forms of Music, which has a signature in the back of the book that he went through and corrected that book in November. I think it's November 9th of 1600. So we thought it was extra interesting, or had a point of extra interest to have that on there. Each of these sheets needed to be double framed because there was beauty and meaning on both sides of the paper. Our plaque on the wall here, "Dios bendiga cada rincón de esta casa," God bless every corner of this house. And we've carried that with us.
Robert Bissett is a massage therapist at the Shell Point Salon and Spa. Here, he explains the many benefits of massage.
Hi, my name is Robin Church, and I'm here in the Island Salon in the massage room, which is really one of my favorite rooms in the salon. This is a room that is all about relaxing and wellness and getting to feel better. And I'm here with Robert Bissett, who is one of our massage therapists, very talented gentleman. And we're going to discuss today a little bit about the benefits of massage and how it can help you and your to age better and age with grace. So Robert, tell us a little bit about the benefits of massage.
Well, massage is very beneficial. There's a few different things that it can help with. It helps with the joint mobility that you have. It increases the circulation and the lymph. It improves that as well. It just helps with the overall wellness of your body, anti-stress, and it also helps with your immune system as well. It promotes a good immune system, and that everybody needs.
Yeah, absolutely. Tell me a little bit about how it's different, how the blood kind of works in the body as opposed to the lymphatic system.
Well, they work together. Massage isn't all about just rubbing muscles. It's also moving that blood and lymph around. For instance, blood is controlled by a pump, and it is on a loop system where the pump is moving the blood, okay?
Sure.
However, lymph is on a open-end system, so to speak. And what you have to do is you have to manually move that fluid. It doesn't have a pump working it like the blood system does.
Sure.
So when you're moving that lymph, that helps exit any toxins and things that don't need it. It helps filter and clean out your blood as well.
Okay.
So you have to manually do that. The heart's not doing it on its own.
Okay, so that's where massage is helpful to move that lymph around to get it to exit.
Absolutely.
Okay, and that's why water becomes so important, isn't it?
Yes, drinking plenty of water, especially after a massage. We hear everywhere we go, drink lots of water, drink lots of water. However, after massage, it's very beneficial because of the fact we've loosened up the toxins in your body. You have toxins that are floating around in your body after the blood, into the blood after the massage. And the only way to get rid of those toxins is through urination, through flushing out, drinking plenty of water.
Right.
So it's important the day of the massage and even the next day after to continue drinking water to flush out those toxins.
I can say that I myself have been having a half-hour massage most of the time every week, and I have noticed a big improvement in just how I feel, and my joints are looser, and I have a lot of those knots that settle in my shoulders and in my neck. What are those knots, those hard balls that you tend to rub on when?
Well, a lot of times, Robin, those knots, they're not necessarily muscles that are bound up. A lot of times I call them crunchies. What they are is it's a combination of lactic acid that's in your body, metabolism waste, muscle waste. For instance, when you exercise or work out a lot, your muscles create a waste. And also the toxins from the food and drink that we have. It all kind of accumulates and keeps building and building in those areas, and what that does is it just slows down the blood flow of the blood with the nutrients getting to those muscles. It just slows the flow down, and it just gives you.
I know when we first started working on them, they were much more fixed and stuck where they were, and now they move around, which is nice, and eventually hopefully we'll get rid of them. But it really feels good even just to work on that, which a lot of people have. So really, to summarize everything that we've talked about, Robert, and how even massage affects myself, it's really just an overall general wellness practice. Wouldn't you say?
Absolutely, yes. It just helps with the general relaxation. You don't necessarily have to have one of these symptoms to need a massage. It helps out with stress. It just helps you sleep better. I mean, there's a lot of beneficial properties of the massage as opposed to just fixing something.
Sure. Well, if you would like to experience a wonderful massage here at the Island Salon and Spa, just give us a call at 489-8400. And again, this is Robert Bissett, and I thank him for joining us today.
This week we heard the story of Bill and Joan Schlackman, who did psychological market research in England for 30 years.
I was born in the Bronx, but my childhood was spent in Brooklyn, New York. We lived through the Depression, of course, which left a very strong impression on me. And I remember, for example, coming home and all our furniture was in the street. And that was because my father couldn't pay the rent. He didn't have the money. So it was a real difficult time during the Depression. I was at public school in Brooklyn, and then I went to a high school in Brooklyn, Samuel J. Tilden in Flatbush, New York. And then I went to Brooklyn College, and then I got a master's degree in City College and specializing in clinical psychology.
I was born in London, and we lived in London until the war. And then my father evacuated us with our parents to the countryside about 40 miles from London in the hope that we'd be safe. We lost our home. Our home was landmined. My parents rented a big house with about 6 bedrooms and 1 bathroom. And practically everyone my mother grew up with found us and knocked on our door when the air raid started. And so our house was always full, people sleeping everywhere, but mostly in the cellar. There was a cellar to the house. And every night we'd all get in our pajamas and dressing gowns, go down to the cellar and sleep in chairs. My childhood was checkered by the war and life was difficult. I was a designer. I had quite a reputation at the time. I was probably one of the youngest designers at the time of Mary Quant, who was a very well-known name. I came for a vacation. I decided to stay and I tried to get a job, but it was very difficult. I got a temporary job at Lord & Taylor, and the first counter they put me on was the apron counter, which I thought was an insult, but they didn't know anything about me, so I was lucky to get a job. And the aprons, it was Christmas time, and they gave me a pile of aprons that were made of black tulle, and they had little Christmas trees and bells on them. So I thought I'd make it exciting. I modelled them, and I stood behind the counter and shook myself, did the shimmy so that the bells all rang. And I sold a tremendous amount of aprons. People came in and asked for the little British girl.
I had a friend who wanted to go to a social event at the Temple Emmanuel in Manhattan.
I went back to my apartment that night and wrote to England to my parents, and I said, "Tonight I met a man I'd like to get to know better." And here he is.
I'm flattered. We got married probably within 3 months of me first meeting her. The company I was working for, I eventually became a vice president in that company, and he sent me over to be the managing director of that unit in the UK. Basically, what we were doing is indicating what the key factors were that attracted people to different products that we were studying. And this kind of information was very helpful in developing merchandising and marketing and advertising. Take something like selling automobiles. We did a study and we found, for example, that young men wanted to have convertibles. They wanted something racy and sporty. But once they got married and got kids, they were frustrated because it was not practical to have that kind of vehicle. So what we suggested to the Ford Motor Company, they produce a car that looked like a convertible, but wasn't a convertible. That would make it practical from the view, but they'd be able to get the satisfaction that they're having a racy, sporty car. And this gave rise to the hardtop convertible. For example, I think it was a Betty Crocker cake mix. Now, interestingly, in those days, homemakers felt very guilty about buying something in a pack and stirring it up with some water and creating a cake, because that was, taking the easy way out, and they weren't being good mothers and good homemakers. So we told them to add an egg.
And remember, those fresh eggs added to Betty Crocker cake mixes help give that special homemade goodness.
Give them compensation so they feel less guilty about serving and using that kind of a product. In England, I was among the first people to introduce these kinds of methodologies into advertising and marketing.
People didn't know how to take him at first, but then they regarded him as, well, he's an American. What do you expect?
So that's very, very true. At that time in England, there was very much a class system. And the people who were from the working class and from Whitechapel and these downgraded areas, they were looked down upon. They didn't know that this guy is a low-class jerk from Brooklyn. No, they said he's a Yank, so they forgive me. You know, and the important thing, of course, I was able to mingle with in the English hierarchical social structure from the top to the bottom.
We even ate with the Duke of Edinburgh and sat with him at his table, which was amazing to me.
From 1958 until about 1990, something like that, I worked in the UK.
We were younger and it was exciting and it was really a very good life. Bill is far more
British than you are.
I became more Americanized. We're newcomers.
Yes, we're relatively new to Shell Point altogether. We had a home on Sanibel.
We made so many friends on Sanibel and in the surrounding area, and they're all here.
A lot of them.
We all aged at the same time.
They refer to this place as Sanibel North. It has so much facility in terms of activity and so on that this is, for us, a really wonderful environment.
Bob Bayers is a server in the Palm Grill and also has a fascinating musical history.
I was born in Bridgeport, Connecticut, raised in Monroe, Connecticut, and lived there till I was 17. My grandfather, who emigrated from Nova Scotia, and he was a musician with the Canadian military band up there, and was eventually auditioned and recruited by John Philip Sousa. He went on to become John Philip Sousa's soloist from 1921 to 1924. So from there, everybody in the family, had to learn some kind of instrument to play. They were active in VFW bands, a lot of orchestras, and always fascinated by parades. And when I was a little kid, I said, I want to march in a parade. Well, in New England, they have this, what they call the ancient martial music, fife and drum music. There's many fife and drum corps up there, and so I basically learned how to play the fife, and that is really what my instrument was. It's a very basic instrument. First models were 6-hole. They used them basically along with drum beats for commands, because that's the only thing that could be heard above the cannon and gunfire during the American Revolution War, and that's how it all came to be. It was really out of the blue. I just graduated from Satellite Beach High School in 1971 in June, and wasn't sure if I wanted to go to college or not. And I got a phone call from Walt Disney World. So I actually started working at Disney 3 months before the park opened in October '71. I was the leader of the Sons of Liberty Fife and Drum Corps. And anywhere between 8 and 12 short shows a day. We'd probably go out and march around and play for about 10-15 minutes. We had a little presentation where we would pick a couple of kids out of the audience and make them Daughters and Sons of Liberty, and handed them a copy of the Declaration of Independence and a little medallion for them to wear. And that's what the whole show was based around. Unlike other bands and interacting bands at Disney, we were basically not allowed to smile. We were supposed to perform as a military unit. So you looked straight ahead, you didn't acknowledge anybody in the audience, you didn't, somebody saying, hey Bob, there were certain requirements that you had to meet in order to work in the public. No facial hair. I had to cut shoulder length hair off to be able to work there, which I didn't mind sacrificing at all, just for the opportunity. The only thing that we didn't wear in Florida, as far as authenticity went, was the 100% wool, and we didn't wear white powdered wigs because it was just too darn hot. Disney was literally out in the boondocks. There was a little country store called Johnny's Country Store, and that's where all the Disney employees went to cash their paychecks, to get gasoline, to buy snacks, because there was nothing around for 10-15 miles. Orlando, the only thing on International Drive was a Shell gas station. Gas was $24.9. All the inside of the park was still all dirt paths that hadn't been paved yet. We had little Honda 50s that the company gave us to get from place to place. because we were not only auditioning people, but we were setting up sound systems and staging, and I was putting in sometimes 12, 14 hours a day, but loved every minute of it, and everybody did. I mean, we were just into this thing. It didn't even matter if you had a day off. This was your life, and it doesn't get any better than that. Had a blast. To be in the opening crew of Walt Disney World was really something. It was just a fabulous experience. There were over 480 live musicians when the park opened in '71, and that was just for Magic Kingdom. I mean, Epcot wasn't even, you know, and I think now there's less than 65. So every time there was a budget cut, you know, it was like the entertainment. I got laid off by Disney 3 times before I finally said, yeah, it's time to move on to something else. Moved down from Orlando to Fort Myers in 1988. Was a front office manager out at Sundial Beach and Tennis Resort out in Sanibel. I was working there for several years, and I met Tom Irwin. He was running a little place called the Sunshine Grill at that time. He got me a uniform and walked in the door, and he says, yeah, he goes, why don't you take these tables over here? And I said, wait a minute. So I'd never waited on tables before. He goes, have you ever eaten at a restaurant? And I said, well, yeah. Just do how you like to be treated when you know, he said, well, since then, Tom and I have pretty much gotten into the food and beverage industry, and worked on and off together now for almost the last 15 years, I guess. We always had a piano in the house, and, you know, basically I just, you know, like fool around on it. So most of what I do now is I play by ear, or improvise off charts, chord structures, things by Chicago, Elton John, Billy Joel, some of the old classics, and some show tunes and things like that. But I also backed up Jeanette Triochet at one of the talent shows, but that's really the only time I've ever played here. When nobody's around, I sometimes will duck out here and, you know, tickle the ivories a little bit, if you will. So I'm really not you know, well-trained pianist by any stretch of the imagination. I just enjoy playing.
The Crystal Room has big plans for December and January. Let's hear more about them.
Hi everybody, it's Jared Pike here with Shell Point TV. We're here in the Crystal Room, and it's the holidays, of course, which means there's a lot going on. And Greg Pindar is here to tell us all about it. Greg, tell us what's going on in the Crystal Room for Christmas.
Well, we just want to let the residents know what's going on for the holidays here, so they can start planning ahead. And we're going to start with the Christmas buffet. Christmas buffet is always something special to us, and this year we're going to be carving prime rib. And also, besides the prime rib, there's going to be a baked salmon and roast turkey with all the trimmings. We're also going to have a special holiday buffet for desserts. And everybody can come and enjoy us for the Christmas holiday, and we will have a wonderful time. That day we will only be open from 10 to 2, and the price is $23.95 for the Christmas buffet.
And you can use your passport dining plan,
yes,
right?
You can. You can use your passport dining plan, and you can bring guests. The only thing on a major holiday like this, we do not take reservations. It's first come, first served, based on availability of tables.
So Christmas is on a Wednesday, December 25th, and that means a week later, on Tuesday, it's New Year's Eve. You have New Year's Eve plans?
Oh, yes, we do. We have a big New Year's Eve planned. Last year we did an a la carte, and this year we expect so many more people. We're going with a very upscaled buffet for New Year's Eve. We're going to be carving tenderloin of beef. Again, we're going to have a baked salmon. We're also going to have duck, roast duck, and many trimmings. And one of the special events for New Year's Eve is, if you were here last year, we had an entertainer called Charlie Sherrill, who plays a real smooth jazz. And he will also be performing from 4 to 7 in the Crystal Room on New Year's Eve. We will have the sparkling grape juice as we have in the past. So come in and toast to the new year with us here at the Crystal Room. The price on that is only going to be $16.95.
All right, so that's New Year's Eve. What about New Year's Day?
Well, on New Year's Day, it's time to come out and get your good luck for 2014. You know, we all need a little luck for 2014. So we are going to be carving roast pork. We are going to have a fried buttermilk chicken. And of course, we have to have the black-eyed peas and the greens and the sauerkraut and everything to bring you good luck in 2014. And listen to this price. This holiday New Year's buffet is only $10.95.
$10.95 on New Year's Day. Now, 2014 also means some changes for the dinner specials in the Crystal Room. Why don't you tell us about those?
We are bringing back a couple of favorite nights. On that night, New Year's Day night, we're coming back with the full pasta buffet. And that'll mean a full steam table full of hot Italian food and vegetables, but you can still go to the side tables and have the cooks prepare your customized pasta dish. And you can select from your chicken, your shrimp, or your beef with all the vegetables, and they will prepare it to order. So come back to a full Italian pasta buffet on January 1st from 4 to 7 in the evening.
And that's every Wednesday night also.
Every Wednesday night. We're going back to a full pasta buffet for the season.
Now what about stir fries? Stir fry is also coming back.
Well, yes, you're right. We have had so many people now that people have come from up north back down south, and everyone is asking for the stir fry. We have made a decision to go back and Tuesday night be stir fry night. Stir fry night, just for a reminder, is where you pick all of your fresh vegetables from the buffet, choose your meat, chicken, shrimp, or beef, and everything is prepared right there in front of you. Select your sauce if you want teriyaki or sweet and sour, and then they pour it steaming hot back on your plate so it's as fresh as can be.
Okay. Now, one more exciting thing happening in January, and that is Scandinavian Night. Tell us about that.
Well, just a little bit ahead, on January the 15th, Wednesday, January the 15th, this is our biggest buffet of the year, and many people keep asking us when we're going to have our Scandinavian Night. This will also include the hors d'oeuvres section, which will be your creamed herring, regular herring, red caviar, black caviar, different kinds of cheeses and crackers, as well as a full Scandinavian hot buffet. So that, again, put that on your calendar for January the 15th, the Scandinavian Night in the Crystal Room.
A smorgasbord of wonderfulness. And that's the Crystal Room for all of December and January. So we encourage you to check it out. If you have any questions, call the Crystal Room at 454-2199 and they'll be able to help you out.
Johannes Tisver is a master woodcarver. Let's see some of his creations.
Before I retired, I was working as a carpenter in New York City most of the time. All kinds of things, up in the skyscraper, up on the bridges and on the piers and everywhere. I went to school when I was 16, and we did work a little bit in the shop there, and then I did some carving. So I forgot it in the 90s. I started doing it. I started out making some elephants and the doves, and this is one of my first carvings. And the teacher said he's going to make 2 bookends. He said, no, I'm going to make 2 horses. So he said, it's hard to do. I said, I didn't know that. So that's how that was made. There's an elephant. When I took it home and my grandson saw it, he said, Grandpa, that's an elephant. That's the best compliment I ever had, I think. But then I went to a carving course. There I was introduced to this kind of carving. It's called an acanthus carving, and it goes back in history a long time. It's often used in cathedrals and churches, a lot of different, and it's beautiful. And it is even on your dollar bill, in the back of your dollar bill. There's a lot of acanthus carving there too. The acanthus carving is done by hand tools. You only use hand tools, sharp hand tools. You get them sharp as you can. And the technique is all in your wrist. You just turn your wrist, and you get it perfect every time. You go first over at one time, and then you go over it again, and because you don't know how deep you're going to go at different places. a 16th of an inch can make a difference in the appearance. So sometimes not easy to do, because if you have many layers on top of each other, like I have in the mirror, there's 3 or 4 layers on top of each other, of course. But otherwise, it is all in the wrist. Basswood is the one I use the most. Pretty stable. There's no grain in it, hardly any grain, so you can carve both ways, and it's a good carving wood. And if the wood is harvested in the winter time, it's better. Then there's no sap in the wood, but sometimes you will just have to take what you get. And all of these different curves and everything got to come out. And it is not easy to do when it's so small. You use smaller tools. It takes a lot of work. It takes a lot of work. Well, I always like to have a fireplace, so I made this drawing on the fireplace, and when I hear about the snow up north, I put the fireplace on just to show them some support. Fireplace bellow. So they work pretty good. And I made some of them to my children and some of my friends. My uncle made that picture. We happened to buy it in Norway, and we liked it so much, but the frame was bad, so I made another frame. These chairs I made from a walnut tree I had in my backyard in New York, and I cut that out with a chainsaw, and I made 2 chairs of it. And it's hard to carve, so I put the salmon in the weed swimming in the weed here. So these are 2 different spoons. So when somebody comes and visits me, that's big talkers. That's the one they get to eat with. That's a cuckoo clock. The birds come out here every hour. On this particular one, I have a quartz clock in here, and that's more stable than that one from the Black Forest in Germany. And these are just made. That's the decoration. This board is called a mangler board, and they used it in olden times for when they're going to iron sheets, and by the friction forth and back, that was enough to iron sheets, because they didn't have electric. So, and another thing they used it for is if somebody wanted to marry a girl, and if she didn't accept it, that was a no. That is from the drawing is from 1894. That one. There's different shape of people in there and things. This mirror is made in acanthus carving, and it is it's quite complicated, but it took me a long time to do it. And the drawing from this I get from Europe. I did this because I just wanted to do it. I didn't know how much work there was involved, but off and on over a year. This one was in the best of show, first prize ribbon, the Southwest Florida Woodcarver Show. When you make a carving like this, there's a lot of people that wanted to buy it, but it's not for sale. It is like one of your arm or your hand or something. It becomes a part of you after a while.
The art studio in the tunnel has a gallery wall, which currently features the theme Shell Point Scenes. Here are some of the paintings. We're glad you joined us for today's show. Don't forget to tune in next week for our star-studded Best of 2013 Year in Review. Until then, this is Shell Point Today for the weekend of December 20th, 21st, and 22nd. I'm Rochelle Chernowski. From all of us here at Shell Point TV, we hope you have a great weekend, and we'll see you again on Monday.